And welcome to the Nug Life Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Weston, and I know you guys are tired of hearing just from me, so I brought along my co-host, Santiago. How are you doing, my man?
I'm good, my brother. It feels good to be back. Uh, no Nuggets basketball for a little bit, or tomorrow night, I think. So it's
Yes,
been a
yes,
little lonely, the Nuggets Nation, but feels good to have them back tomorrow. So
definitely has. We need to get them back on the court because we all know what happened the last time they were on the court. It was a little bit embarrassing. They gave the Lakers the first win of their season, but that's not where we're going to start. We're going to start where the Nuggets handled Oklahoma City Thunder 122 to 117. They had six Nuggets in double digits. Is that the model of success for this team, spreading the wealth?
well, I think the fact that you had OKC only lose by 5 points is definitely disappointing, but it is the beginning of the year. You never know who your team is or the identity of the team until maybe around December or the beginning of the new calendar year. So, having five guys score in, or was it six or five?
It
It
was
was
six
six of them,
guys.
right? Yeah. So having six guys score in double or 20 plus points is, almost the recipe of success. But there's been a stat early on this season that the average for each NBA team in this early young season, the average of points per game is at 115. So obviously the trend is in defense at the beginning of the year throughout the league. It's been offensive minded, but as soon as we start getting into full swing of things, start heading towards that Thanksgiving, beginning of December kind of time, that's when I think that we'll see more emphasized defense.
Yes, I do agree. I love the stat you brought up about the average points scored by each team. That includes the bad teams. So if you're including the bad teams and it's still that high, yes, definitely defense is not on anybody's mind this early in the season. Maybe it's just everybody's trying to load manage, whatever the case may be. I don't want to throw shade at people, but yeah, definitely no defense being played by anybody. Um, the Nuggets are obviously scoring at a very high clip. They are top half of the league in points per game, rebounds per game, uh, field goal percentage, really everything but free throw percentage, which is something that kind of terrifies me, and we'll talk about that more later. But outside of that, the offense is definitely going at it. Like we just said, six guys into double digits in one game. But like you said, 5 point win when you have that many guys go into the double digits, it's a little scary. But we're hoping that that defense, what you're seeing from like a Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, these rookies, hopefully that will rub off on the veterans. It's kind of weird for me. Well, it's really weird for me to say this. Normally, you're talking about the veterans rubbing off on the rookies, but in this case, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it really seems like the rookies are the only ones that have any kind of inkling to really get dirty on the defensive end.
Yeah, KCP is one of those guys who we brought in and someone who I don't think has found his footing yet completely, him being that defensive mastermind. So I just think the fact that you brought up some of these young guys like Christian Braun, and it's actually surprised me how much playing time he's gotten. And, he's taken advantage of the opportunity, honestly, with his tough summer league that he had. I didn't think he was going to get that much playing time, but you can tell that the playing time that Malone's giving him is something that he sees in this kid, and he has shown it in, small moments. KCP, it's going to be a matter of time until this guy actually shows his defensive ability. As I say, though, it's the beginning of the year. A lot of the things that you expect from the Nuggets are not going to completely happen right away. The NBA is not like the NFL where a team establishes their identity within, the first couple of weeks. It's a long season. It's an 82-game season, and you just have to wait and see. I know you brought up the Laker game. I know we'll talk about that later, but I don't know if it's more embarrassing that the Lakers gave up, or no, the Nuggets gave up the Lakers their first win, or the fact that the Lakers were celebrating like they just advanced to the NBA Finals after winning one game. So, I'd rather
Right.
be a Nuggets fan in that predicament.
Yes. Yeah. It was weird to see guys like LeBron and AD celebrate like that over just getting their first win of the season a month into the season. It was literally the last game of each team's month of October, and they finally got a win. And like you said, they acted like they just done moved on to the finals. Uh, and another thing about that is like what you said about Christian Braun getting those minutes. It's not just any minutes. This kid is getting important minutes. He's getting minutes in the fourth quarter. He is defending LeBron freaking James in the fourth quarter. Like, and he's holding his own. This is a rookie. Remember, this is a rookie, a real rookie. But
So,
go ahead.
what year was LeBron drafted? 2003? It was 03, wasn't it?
Something like that. It was like right when I was still in high school. And
Christian Braun, he was born in 2001. So this guy is defending someone who, LeBron James entered the league when Christian Braun was 2 years old. So I don't know if that shows how young Christian Braun is or how old LeBron James. I think it's more disappointing the fact, though, that a LeBron James-led team is celebrating a game. You go 0-5 and you're celebrating your first win. Like Kobe Bryant would never do that. Come on now, he'd keep his head down and go for another one. Are you kidding me? You're celebrating. Like I feel like Patrick Beverly is just the Patrick Beverly thing. Remember Pat Bev with the Minnesota Timberwolves? He's hopping on the scorers table. They didn't even really make the playoffs. They won a playing game, and he's over. So I just think the Patrick Beverly thing is probably what rubbed him off a little bit, and they just look so unprofessional doing that.
Yeah, they really do. And I mean, if they really let Pat Bev change who they are or rub off on them, again, this is LeBron James, the man that's been in the league for 20 years. And to like really put it in perspective of the age gap between LeBron and Christian is LeBron's been in the league for 20 years. Christian is 21. So yeah, you're right. LeBron has almost literally been in the league as long as Christian Braun has been alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the insanity of that happening. I don't even know where else to go with it. So I'm going to go back here to OKC. And back to the defense. How does Denver improve its perimeter D that allowed Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Giddey to both go for 28 and 19 to make it that 5-point differential at the end?
Well, credit to Josh Giddey and SGA. Those are two young guys who have incredible athletic ability. Josh Giddey is a name that goes under the radar. He looks a little goofy looking. I understand it, but he is a baller. He's a Luka Doncic type player, a big point guard who's going to get boards and assists, and he can score the ball. So it is hard to defend those young guys. Just the mere fact that, though, it's still early in the year, you do expect more out of this Nuggets defense, and you're going to get it as the year goes on. You just have to be more physical, more intense. And that's what Michael Malone is preaching to his guys once they hit the court tomorrow night against the OKC Thunder and see if they listen to their coach, which you have to imagine they will with the rest that they had. And the fact that OKC put up 117 on them, you want to see that score way below, I would say less than 100 at least.
Yes, the defense, like you mentioned earlier about KCP just not being the guy that he was before with the defense that he played at other stops. That's a little bit concerning to me is like, why are you coming to a team that they had one purpose? You got one job and you don't even do that one job. Like he's only had out of the 8 games he's played or 7 games he's played, and he's had one game where he was inactive. He has only scored in double digits 3 times. And if you're not going to play defense, you have to score, and he's not doing either. So to me, it's going to take probably some shakeups and getting some maybe even some more minutes for Christian Braun, or maybe flopping out him for Bruce Brown, which we'll talk about in depth a little bit more later. But those things are going to have to change. And then to me, also, if you just hit more of your free throws and you keep that lead, well, guess what people are going to start doing on the other end? They're going to start taking bad shots. They're going to be pressured. So, since I brought up free throws, do the free throw woes early in the season worry you with this Nuggets team?
As a whole, it doesn't worry me, but for individuals like KCP who, as you said, if you're not going to play defense and you need to score the ball, and if there's going to be nights where you're not playing defense and you're not scoring the ball, then what's your purpose of even being in the game. And free throws are something that can come down to situational basketball. You might need a free throw to get you in the game late down the stretch, or you might lose a game by 2 and you see that you guys went 17 for 35 from the free throws. If you knock down 5 of those free throws, you automatically win by 3 points. So free throws have always been a thing that's bugged me. You're a professional basketball player. It's honestly the easiest shot unless you're one of those big for nothing kind of guys. The Nuggets, I know they will get it together. It's just not as a team. I think it's more of an individuals with KCP. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I know KCP has just been so frustrating, though, when he gets to that charity stripe. Jamal and MPJ, those guys are going to knock down their free throws. Aaron Gordon has been one of those guys that you want hitting his free throws because he attacks the rim so frequently. He's going to get hacked. He's going to get fouled probably more than anybody else other than Nikola Jokic. So, with the individuals, they need to knock down their free throws. Just keep us into those close games.
Yeah. KCP is hitting at a 75% clip from the charity stripe. The Nuggets as a whole are hitting 72%. That is 28th in the league. There's only 30 teams, people. There's only 2 others that are worse than them. Now, it's not a dire situation this early. It is a bit of a small sample size because if you look at just the OKC and Denver, OKC is 13th in the league at 78%, while the Nuggets are 28th at 72. So they can climb that ladder rather quickly if they can get it together, but it's going to take, I don't care if it's staying after practice, coming in on days off, whatever the case may be. There is no excuse for professional basketball players to be shooting free throws this poorly, especially when you have this many superstars on a team. And you have a guy like Jokic that's out here hitting at 80%, a guy like Jamal that's out here hitting at almost 80%. That tells you how badly some of these other guys are shooting to drag that all the way down to the 3rd worst in the league. That definitely needs to be a point of emphasis, and the Nuggets really need to focus on that as they go through the remainder of the season. But moving on from OKC, right after this squeak of a win, the woes popped up and smacked the Nuggets right in the face, and they got absolutely pawned by Portland, 135 to 110. The Blazers had 3 players go for 20 plus. Where did the Denver D go wrong?
Man, that was just such an ugly game. So frustrating because I stayed up to watch that. It was in Portland, so it was a late game, 8 o'clock start here at Mountain Time. And the Nuggets got out on a good little run. They started the game up 14-3. This looked like it was going to be a game that would go in the Nuggets' favor. Easy win, after a lackluster performance from the Thunder. You still got the win, but it wasn't in the best fashion. You thought that they were going to get that runaway win, the next night in Portland. That wasn't the case. They seemed like they, thought they had won the game at the end of the first quarter. Anthony Simons of the Portland Trailblazers did his best Steph Curry impression, knocking down 4 or 5 straight 3-pointers, like possessions, like 4 or 5 straight possessions where he just knocked down a 3, and it was just ridiculous. And, great defense, but it was better offense. And when you're having those little moments right there, that might take away your confidence where you're trying to do everything you can to possibly stop a shooter, and he's still drilling it right in your face. I feel the Nuggets' confidence got shot. There was a stat of, you don't ever hear about this stat, but blow-bys. The Nuggets had about 17 blow-bys because they were trying to protect the perimeter so much, and that's because Anthony Simons opened up that perimeter shot because of his consecutive 3-pointers. And the Nuggets were closing out, and the Blazers would pump fake and just drive right by them. A few of those victims were MPJ, KCP, and it was just ugly. That's why the Nuggets lose by 25 when you started the game up 14-3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these Nuggets are they're like the bizarro Warriors. Like, we've all noticed that for some reason, whatever it is, it's got to be like the rule of 3 with the Warriors, that they always go off in the 3rd quarter. Mm-hmm. Even the last game against the Nuggets, that 3rd quarter was insane. Well, the Nuggets are the absolute opposite. Instead of being great in the third quarter, they tend to be terrible. Like we were talking about Anthony Simons, he had 22 points. I'm going to say that again. The man had 22 points in the third quarter. He had 29 points the entire game.
It's ridiculous.
That is absolutely insane. The Nuggets as a team had 25 points in the third quarter. So Anthony Simons was only 3 points away from tying the entire Nuggets team for points in the third quarter. But he wasn't the only one that was scoring. And that's where the difference was. While Anthony Simons was sitting there being just unconscious, so was Damian Lillard. So was Jeremy Grant. They each pitched in double-digit points in the third quarter where the team scored 44 points, as opposed to the Nuggets that had Jokic scoring in the third quarter where he had 15 out of the 25. But that tells you that the entire rest of the team had 10 points total. That was the difference, and that is where things went wrong. In the third quarter, that you had guys like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope trying to do their best imitation of Logo Lillard. Nobody on this Nuggets team, outside of maybe Bones when he is on absolute fire, can match Damian Lillard's shooting. Maybe Jamal Murray, I guess, if he's on fire as well. But you cannot be taking shots from the Logo when you're KCP. You cannot be taking shots from the Logo when you're Bruce Brown. That should never happen. And that's where it went. They just, for whatever reason, they allowed Anthony Simons to just keep going off and off, never switching, never really putting a different person on him. He absolutely torched KCP until Christian Braun came in and started guarding Simons. There was nobody on the Nuggets floor or side of the floor that could do anything against that kid. And maybe that's the key. Maybe that's where they went wrong, is that they're not trusting the rookie enough.
Yeah, so in that game, well, the Nuggets gave up 55 first half points. The second half, they gave up 80. In the second half, they gave up 80 second half points. That's insane. For a team to have, that's almost a third quarter score. They have 80 points in one half. That's just terrible defense. And just not that, the Nuggets couldn't even buy a shot themselves. Everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Nuggets. I don't know if you said that Jokic had 10 in the third, because this was the game where Jokic had actually a triple single where he had 9.
Yes, he did. I'm sorry. It was
9.
Michael Porter Jr. that had the points. I apologize.
Yeah.
I said Jokic.
The thing with, and another footnote where I think people kind of shy away, because Jokic is a back-to-back MVP. You don't ever think why a Nuggets loss could be his fault. And I'm not trying to blame Jokic for this loss, but we didn't see the Nikola Jokic of the last 2 MVP seasons in that game. We saw a young 23, 24-year-old version of the Nikola Jokic, the version where everyone was frustrated of him not taking shots. Everyone would say, if this guy takes 10 to 15 shots a game, he'll take over the league, in which he established himself and became that. But this game is where he did a flash in the past, where he became young, shy Nikola, the young, selfish player that he once was. Only had about, I think, 4 or 5 shot attempts throughout the whole game. When you're the back-to-back MVP, you automatically need to be shooting at least in the double figures for attempts. I know he's an unselfish guy by nature. He's always trying to facilitate and get his teammates the best open looks. But when you're a top 3, top 5 player in the league, you got to take the game over, man. And that's just something I think that Nikola didn't feel like he needed to do or was capable of doing against the Portland Trail Blazers, was taking that game over the way he knows how to.
Yeah, he was 3 for 4 from the floor and 3 for 3 from the charity stripe. So definitely a blast from the past, but not the good one. And when you have 3 out of 5 starters in the single digits, Jamal Murray with 8, Nikola Jokic with 9, and KCP with 6, that's never, ever going to get it done. Even if you have a guy like Aaron Gordon go for 26 points. And that's another thing is that drives me nuts, is it seems to be that if Gordon is the leading scorer, the Nuggets are sucking. I don't want to put that on Gordon because it's not his fault. He's just taking the shots that are given him. But if you ever see Gordon going off, be scared because it
Mhm.
seems to be that is the Achilles heel. If Gordon is going off, then I think Jokic gets too much into that old way of, oh, look, this guy's going off. Let me feed him instead of, yes, he's going off, but I need to take my shots. So maybe we can both score 25 plus points and win the game, as opposed to me only scoring 9 points, him 26, and we lose. So, yeah, I think that both of those, what you said, what I just brought in, both of those things together just really kind of tanked for the Nuggets and things just snowballed, especially in that third period or third quarter. And they just were not able to respond, especially to Anthony Simons. I don't think anybody saw that coming from Simons. Like I'm not trying to take anything away from Simons, but you know that it's an outlier when you score 22 points in a quarter and then 29 points in the entire game. And the other 7 points came in the first half, which means after the third quarter where he scored 22, he didn't score again. So that shows you that there was something that they could have fixed faster, but for whatever reason, they just never did. And I
I think
honestly believe that Malone waiting to bring in Brown was what caused that to snowball. I think if you would have brought him in sooner, I think they could have stopped that a lot sooner than they did, and maybe had a chance to get back in the game.
Yeah, I think the most frustrating, going back to that
You're on
Nikola
mute.
Jokic stat, the most frustrating thing about it is what you brought up. He shot 3 or 4 from the field. It wasn't like he was having a bad shooting night where he had to stop. He was being a cancer of shooting the ball. So let me just find these guys. No, he was having a good shooting night. 3 or 4, that's a 75% clip. It it just he has that, as I said, by nature. He's a pass first type of guy, but he has that ability to just be a 3 level scorer and take over the game at any time. And I just think he wants to win the game or be that unselfish guy and not be someone who is trying to take over the game. But if he don't even have to try to, he can just naturally take over a game at any time, anywhere. And I just think he still needs to understand that. And it's funny that we say that about a back-to-back MVP. He doesn't still understand how much of a monster he is on the offensive side of the ball, scoring-wise.
Yeah, I definitely think it bodes to his humble nature. But since we're on Jokic and talking about how he can take over a game at any point, in the very next game against the Lakers, where the Nuggets hung on for a 110-99 victory, Jokic dropped 31 and 13. Got another double double to add to the couple of triple doubles and other double doubles he's already got. Do you think that this start is conducive for a third straight MVP, or are you afraid that this unselfishness is going to blow it for him?
And you know what happened was someone probably told him they were going to sell his horse if he didn't go out there and take over the game, man. It's
That would do it.
unacceptable. Unacceptable to have 9, shoot 3 or 4, only have 4 shot attempts. It must have worked because he went out there and he balled out. That's the Nikola Jokic we need. 31 points, 13 rebounds. Was he 9 assists? Right? It was 9.
Yeah,
Or
I
did
think he was
he?
like one away from another triple double. I'll get
Yeah, I
the
mean, how many
exact number,
games
but yeah,
has there been where Nikola Jokic has been like 1 rebound shy or 1 assist shy from a triple double?
it's been
I heard
almost
Scott
every game
Hastings
so
saying this
far.
the other day from Altitude Radio. He was like, this guy must have like the uh, uh, most almost triple doubles in NBA history because it just seems like every other night this guy's missing a triple double by 1 rebound or 1 assist, and it's just amazing to see because if he just gets that rebound or that one more assist, he's probably the all-time leader in triple doubles by a mile. We wouldn't even be talking about Russell Westbrook, and Westbrook's a guard. Like, he's supposed to dish
Right.
the ball out. Jokic is, as we will always say, he's just an anomaly, man. He's a freaking anomaly, but there was still no excuse to have 9 points. 31
No.
points is the Jokic we need, and that's who he is. I don't know who the hell he was with that 9-point outing. It was a weird night against the Blazers. So we forget about it. It's over and done with. Still wish it never happened, but glad that Jokic was able to shake off the rust right away.
Right. And then did it against a what was supposed to be a good team. Like they haven't really been good so far, but this is still a team that has AD, LeBron, Russ. Yes, they may be a bit of a shell of themselves at this point, but it's still a very good team. To see him bounce back and do it the way that he did, yet it was very, very encouraging. There was also 4 out of the 5 starters in that game scored double digits. This was a game that Bruce Brown started and had 18 points, was hitting clutch shots in the third and fourth quarter to keep the lead for the Nuggets when the Lakers were doing a bit of a comeback bid, especially there in the fourth quarter. I really like this starting 5 outside of the fact of having KCP in there as opposed to who is missing from this lineup? Nikola, Bruce, Aaron, Jamal. Who am I missing?
Was that the game MPJ rested?
MPJ. God, why could I
Yeah.
not? Why is that not hitting my head? Yes, MPJ. It's the one 3-letter man instead of the other 3-letter man. I think is the perfect lineup. And we'll get into a little bit of a debate with that later. But you had Bruce Brown with the 18. Jamal Murray dropped in 13 and 6. KCP had 13 points, 4 rebounds. So it was really nice to see the scoring rebound. You had Uncle Jeff coming off the bench with 10 points. He's been a bit of a revelation so far the early season. It was just really nice to see this Nuggets team not laid down and let a 25-point loss linger, especially in this instance where it could have been a trap game where they're looking at, yes, it's the Lakers, but it was the winless Lakers at this point. So they could have
Mhm.
very easily overlooked them. But for them to reach down, come out, and get a win, as gritty as it was, I mean, hey, you got to get your hats off to him. But how has Christian Brown won the trust of Coach Malone so early in the season? How is he averaging almost 20 minutes a game?
What's his energy, man? He doesn't have the prettiest offensive game, but when he's on that defensive end, he's nothing but energy, and that's what coaches love to see out of a young player, especially Malone. And Malone's not an analytical guy. He's not a guy who's going to look at the numbers. He's going to watch you actually play and see who's going to be working their butt off. And Christian Braun's one of those guys. He's coming off of a year from a national championship game, and Malone knows that, and he's playing like every possession is the national championship. Christian Braun, he develops his consistency on the offensive side. That 20 minutes per game can probably jump up to 25, maybe even find some starting minutes sometime during the season if KCP doesn't get it together. Because, outside of you have Nikola at the 5, Aaron Gordon at the 4, MPJ at the 3, Jamal's going to obviously be at that 1. There's no real lock for that 2 spot. Bones, they want him running with the second unit, so Bones is not going to really be someone trying to, the coaches are going to want to put into that starting role. Christian Braun might have some starting games. I that's my prediction, that Christian Braun could have some starts coming these couple of weeks if KCP can't get it together. I like Bruce Brown coming off of the bench, and I think that's more of a realistic role for Bruce Brown. So Christian Braun, I mean, he hasn't had a lot of NBA games, and they don't really know what kind of NBA player he is. So why not give him that opportunity to see if he's a starter?
Yeah, I agree with you. The reason Malone has allowed him on the court as much as he has is his defense. He's definitely still a work in progress on offense. We especially saw that in the first game where he missed the first 3 layups of his career before he finally got one to go in. But it's obvious the kid has no quit. There's definitely the hustle and the want to on the defensive end that Coach Malone covets. And so that is how you ingratiate yourself to Coach Malone. He is a defensive guru. He would much rather see you out there grinding it out on the defensive end than dropping 40 on the offensive end. That's just the kind of coach that he is. And so if you're going to give that type of effort as a rookie, both in practice and on the court, you're going to find time. It's the same way that Bones got on the court last year. A lot of people wanted to talk about his offense, but the reason Coach Malone trusted him was the fact that he was willing to try on the defensive end, which was completely different than the majority of the bench that he had at the time. So while I agree, yes, Bones is going to be on the second unit. That's where he wants him to come from. Bruce Brown, he definitely has a really good grasp of that role coming off the bench. I think he could be used more, but that's a little bit of a debate again for a little bit later. What I really want to get into now is how good has Uncle Jeff been so far this year? Like, I swear the man's turned back the clock at least like 3 or 4 years.
You know what's funny about Jeff Green? He's been on like every team in the league throughout his career, and each team he's played for, you can look it up. Like he has a highlight in each different uniform. He's just one of those guys that almost like Ish Smith. You know, he's bounced from team to team. Ish Smith, though, is a 6-foot guard, so people aren't going to know him. Jeff Green has a poster in a Boston Celtic uniform, a poster in a Washington Wizards uniform, and a Cleveland Cavaliers uniform, and an OKC Thunder uniform. Like, he's the ultimate journeyman, and he's not just a guy who bounces from team to team. He puts some actual production in, and to be doing it at this age, I mean, that might even be more impressive than LeBron James. For someone to be that old and not let their ego get to him to where, like a Carmelo Anthony situation where you need to be playing on the floor. Like, no, Jeff Green, he'll do his job, give you some of that reinforcement, and he'll do a damn good job at it. You know, the funny thing about Jeff Green is when he came into the league, he was part of that OKC Thunder team when they had just done that relocation from the Seattle Supersonics to OKC, and it was I don't know why I can't think of their names. Westbrook, Durant, who they just drafted. Jeff Green was the other name, and they thought that would be the next big three to really hit the scene. You know, Jeff Green was the odd man out once the Thunder got James Harden. But the fact that Jeff Green was to almost be a part of one of the, you know, best trios in NBA history, probably. You know, I'm doing a little bit of hypothetical here, but Jeff Green is a real problem, especially when he first came out in the league, and he seems like that Father Time has never caught up with him.
Yes, I mean, well, it's definitely caught up with his hairline.
Oh
but
yeah,
it has not caught up with his athleticism. That is definitely not happening. It's amazing just to see this man and the way he can still fly. Like, normally when you're a high flyer, by the time you get into your mid to late 30s, you've lost a lot of your ups. The wear and tear on your knees is terrible at that point. But somehow this man has taken care of himself to the point where he's out here at 37 dunking on 20 and 21-year-olds. And like you said, he's got a poster everywhere he's been. Whether it's Seattle, OKC, Boston, Memphis, Denver, it doesn't matter. He has always just come to play, and he plays above the rim no matter how little hair he has on the top of his head.
You know, those guys, they need to just like, they just got to know when it's time to let it go, man. They're just holding on to it. You know, you got the NBA career still, man. Just let the hairline go. You can't keep it all. Just let it go, man.
To say, like, when you got bald spots, like, I'm in a little bit of a glass house when it comes to hairline and all that, but where I have is full cover. I have no bald spots. So, like, if I ever find a bald spot, then it's gone. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and try to be on national TV. And like, when you look here, like, everything looks good. And then I bend my head down and there's just this big old hole in the middle of my head. Like, you got a problem.
You got party up front, disappointment in the back. You know, you can't be having that. You can't be having that, man. You know, it's even more embarrassing for like a guy like LeBron James, though, someone who is the face in the NBA, and he's nationally covered on a daily basis all the time. Like, are you really serious? Like, you don't think we notice that? We see you using those little.
You don't see the hairline going like.
Yeah, we see you using whatever Just for Men thing you got going on, whatever you call it, just trying to fill in the bald spots. We see it, man. Don't act like we don't. Like, you know,
you play in a sport where the greatest of all time was bald, like cue ball bald. Like, what's the big deal?
You know what's funny is I saw a thing on the internet. It's like, you know, when Jordan saw it was time to go bald, they went bald. When Kobe saw it was time to go bald, he went bald. LeBron, it's time. It's time, man. Right. You know, and it's funny because I think he's been going bald since he was like 25, man. Like, all that carrying those terrible Cavaliers teams of the mid-2000s must have really got to him at an early age, man.
He got that presidential hairline. He got that Obama hairline going on.
Cul-de-sac hairline. Ew, no, man. That's crazy.
Oh, that got my soul right there. He said cul-de-sac hairline.
Looking like Homer Simpson over there.
Right.
With the
Straight
little,
comb over.
I bet
He
you it
even
gets
got
to
enough to
that
comb
point.
over. He just got like that spray. I swear it said spray on, bro. I
It
swear
better
at this
not get
point.
to that point to where it is like Homer Simpson. He's got like 2 strands of hair right there. You know,
Where
like,
he's just
man, let that go.
sitting in the mirror, trying to get him in the right spot. Like, eh. Like, no,
Oh, damn it, LeBron.
that's not
Oh
it.
my
That
God.
is not it. But so moving on from revenge of hairlines to the Nuggets getting revenge on the Utah Jazz from their earlier 20-point loss, early first game of the season, 117
Man.
101. It's another game, 7 Nuggets in double digits. Bones leads all scorers with 26. Brown gets 32 minutes. Which is more impressive?
Uh, that's a good question. What is more impressive? I think what's more like something I didn't expect is Brown getting those 32 minutes. Impressive wise, I'd have to go with Bones, and just because of all the preseason talk of how Bones can take it to the next level, that was just all talk. To actually see him go out there and do what everyone has been talking about, like, oh, wait to see this, and he actually did it. Now that's impressive because it takes a lot of players have been had so much hype on them. Oh, they're going to take that leap. They're going to take that next leap. And it never happens. Bones had initiative and he took that leap, and it showed in that game what he can do with that second unit and why I think he's an early candidate for 6th man of the year. To have 26 points, to come off of all 3 levels. He was driving to the rim, a couple middies, shooting some threes. He was getting to the line even. He was a dominant scorer in that game. To be the leading scorer is what's probably even more impressive, that no other Nugget had more points than he did. But it was a revenge game for sure, man. To open up the season and to lose to a team who me and you both predicted that this Jazz weren't going to score over 90 points. We both said that. And they came and completely proved us wrong and ran the Nuggets out of the building, which is just still completely mind-boggling. And the Nuggets did what they had to do the next time they saw them. They took care of business, brought the Jazz back to reality. And, I'm anticipating that Portland game next, because that's what I believe the Nuggets are going to do to the Portland Trailblazers.
Yes, this game was absolute domination. This was a team looking for retribution. The Nuggets never had less than a 62.9% chance to win. That was the lowest percentage of a chance to win they had the entire game, and that was early or in the middle of the first quarter. After that, it never got below 73%. So there was never really any doubt of who was going to win this game. And I think that's what really lent itself to a Bones having 26 points, and four total guys off the bench had double digits. Christian Braun had 10 in 32 minutes. Uncle Jeff had 10 in his 24. Bones had 26 in his 24. And DeAndre Jordan had 12 and 13. To me, one of the bigger things that got my eye was this was the first time since 1982 that both centers on the same roster got a double. Both Jokic and DeAndre Jordan both had a double in this game. Could Jordan have been the most underrated move of the offseason?
I think so. Outside of, well, you see, you traded for KCP. That was something that you expect KCP to be a dominant role player or wherever you put him. So that wasn't something that went under the radar. I do think the DeAndre Jordan move was because Jordan is a shell of himself, at least to where he used to be. He's not the high flyer that he used to. I mean, he can still slam it here and there, but he's not going to do it on
When you're
every
7
other
foot,
possession.
yeah, you should be.
Yeah, exactly. You should be able to. It should come naturally.
Right.
The fact that the Nuggets had DeMarcus Cousins and he was such a fan favorite, especially after his Game 5 performance in that elimination game against the Warriors, it was hard to see him go. And then you see a guy who's going to replace him. If you almost feel irreplaceable, that's how good Cousins was in that playoff series. But, bring DeAndre Jordan, a guy who doesn't really have much offensive game, but he's affecting the game in, many other aspects and getting boards and being an interior defender, a rim protector. It is obviously, I would say, probably the most, as you said, underrated move for this team, especially with them getting a double-double this early in the season. Come on now, it's impressive. For how old is
Oh,
DeAndre? Like 33, 34? He's
yes,
up there
like
in
he's in his
age.
mid-30s. Like he's pushing my age. And my thing is like I agree with you. This is definitely one of the more underrated moves because again, this is the first time since before I was born, my old ass, before I was born, that this has ever happened where both centers got a double double. And I looked to see if it was anything. I mean, and I included anybody that was in 10-10s. Like as long as you had double doubles, I was looking for you. And that was the last time was 1982 with a team that doesn't even exist anymore. I can't even remember the name of it. San Diego Clippers. That was the last ones.
Who were the players that got it? Does it
Oh
tell you?
man, it does. I'd have to look it back up again. Um,
Someone we probably never heard of.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it was a team that no longer exists at where it's at. Or no, my bad. It was the Utah Jazz, so I guess they do exist. It was against the San Diego Clippers. That's why I thought it was them. But it was. Let's see who they're. Michael Brooks. And who was the other guy? Is it Rich Anderson? Nope, that's the power forward. Sorry, but to tell y'all what I had to do to find this out is I had to go and find the most double doubles by a single team in a game in the history of the NBA. Then I had to go through each one because there was no stat repository for the most double doubles by centers in a game or anything like that. And then I had to go find out which one of these guys on these teams were the centers. So I apologize, I did not remember them exactly.
Oh man, I'm gonna say I was impressed that you were
Jeff
able to.
Wilkins, Jeff
Hey,
Wilkins, and Michael Brooks, and yeah. So that's who it was.
hey, the fact that you were able to bring that stat up, I'm impressed. I was like, "Where's he going with this?" And he brought something. Hey, history's made every other night.
That's what I'm
So
saying. Like, I always look for these things. You don't always find them, but every once in a while you find a little nugget. And this is one of them I found, and I thought it was a pretty cool stat. So I appreciate you appreciating.
it's funny though. At least that wasn't as bad as some of these other stats that these shows do, like that 4-letter network. They bring up the weird stuff like Tom Brady is the oldest quarterback to throw this many yards on this day with the temperature lower than 60 degrees Fahrenheit, wearing white pants with the blue. Like, bro, come on now.
Like,
you just doing too much. Like, come on now, man.
Yes, exactly. No, I'm 100% with you. You will never get. I can promise. I will never bring some craziness like that to this pod. That is way too much. You are exactly right. That is doing way too much. But speaking of doing too much, have these Nuggets shooters gave you the confidence to believe they can sustain 40% from three?
This is a tough one because the Nuggets, they've been streaky in past seasons. They've had stretches where 3 balls there and then, go on a 10-game stretch and like maybe only one guy has been a dependable, actual consistent shooter. The personnel's there, Jamal, MPJ. I know I've been harsh on MPJ, not really necessarily harsh. His health has always worried me, but for what the guy's producing for someone who's had 2 to 3 back surgeries, I mean, you can't do nothing but tip your hat and applaud to this guy because, I couldn't imagine to have that many surgeries at that age, on something that you rely on so much of for your profession. And I know I was critical on his health. The only thing I make it so critical on is I don't know how much of a good of investment that is on someone who has a liability with that health. But, when he's on, if his health can not prevent him from missing any more substantial amount of time, this can be a generational player. But I don't ever think he'll ever get to 100% healthy ever in his career. He might hit 90 or 95, but that back pain will always linger. But always a knockdown shooter. Always have confidence in him being one of the best 3-point shooters on the team. Bruce Brown in recent years has upped his 3-point shot. I remember about a year or two ago, he was a 28% 3-point shooter, hesitated to shoot the 3. Now he's looking much better. You look at his stats I would rather look at his stats last year since it's much of a bigger sample size compared to, this young season, but it's an improvement. KCP, when he's on, but he kind of has his little Will Bartonitis where if he's on, he's on, but if he's off, he's off. So, I mean, the personnel's there, like I say. It's just the execution and how long you can actually consistently do it. Not every team is the Warriors where you have two of the greatest shooters of all time on your team, but find a good shot selection. And with Nikola Jokic, you should be able to move the ball relentlessly and have an unbelievable amount of motion. And I think that's what can keep the consistent three-point shooting is moving the ball with a facilitator like Nikola Jokic and with the second team, a facilitator within Bones Highland.
Yeah. To underscore your point, 2 years ago, Bruce Brown was hitting 28% from three. Last year, he hit 40%. And this year, he has gone completely unconscious and is hitting 45% of his threes so far early in the season. Again, small sample size coming off the bench. But when you've already upped it in a full season to 40, I mean, hey, 45 isn't out of the realm. And then you have, like you said, MPJ, who has a career three-point percentage of 41%. You have Jamal Murray, who's hovered somewhere between 38 and 40% for his entire career. You got Jokic, who averages somewhere around 35 to 38% from three, sometimes a little bit better, sometimes a little bit worse. But he's a center, 7-footer. Anything over 30% from a 7-footer, you'll take it.
Right.
So I do believe that they have enough shooters. I think it's going to take a guy like KCP figuring it out. Bones Highland being a little bit more consistent, maybe taking a little bit less of those crazy shots and try to work himself into some better shots or his teammates into better shots, I think would really solidify the three-point shooting for this team and just take it to a whole nother level. But I am with you. I agree that this team has the talent, that 40% number is not an outlier. That is not something that I see dropping dramatically. I mean, is it guaranteed that an entire team is going to shoot 40% from three for an entire season? No, it doesn't normally happen unless you're the Warriors or somebody like that. But again, this team has enough talent. They could definitely pull it off. But
I just think the mere fact that when you have a player like Jokic, his play style, you already know it's unselfish. Now you got to get the guys around him to they don't got to be excellent passers or the best or above average. They just got to know the fact, got to have good basketball IQ to where to make the next pass for where it reaches the open man. I mean, you see the Warriors, it's not just the fact that they have two of the greatest shooters of all time. They have a great system with Steve Kerr runs. It's just hot potato basketball. Just keep swinging the ball until it finally reaches the open man. And I think that's what the Nuggets need to do is just swing that ball the most they can. But when you have scorers like MPJ, Jamal Murray, maybe it's hard and they get caught up in isolation basketball, which is fine. But if you want to reach that 40% as a team, which is hard to do and understandably so, but even keep it up at 37 or 38, you have to swing the basketball.
Yes, I 100% agree. You actually articulated that even better than I did when I was talking about Bones. What you said is exactly what I was talking about. Moving the basketball better, getting to an open shot, and not just settling for that long three or the jumper with three defenders around you. Like if you got three defenders around you, bro, you got to find another guy because it's obvious at least one guy, if not two guys, are open. There's three on you. So like, they've definitely got to get better at being cognizant of defenses, how they're attacking them, and ball movement is a serious lack at certain times. Like, yes, they've gotten better than they were a year ago or even 2 years ago, especially of getting the ball moved around, but they still haven't done it enough, and they really need to go back and watch those Warriors teams and maybe learn a little something from them. But moving on from there to the Lakers. And again, we said it at the beginning, so we'll say it again. Unfortunately, the Lakers got their first dub of the season against our beloved Nuggets, 121-110. Jamal Murray topped 20 for the first time since his injury. Has he finally shrugged off the rust? even though it was in a loss.
Well, when Jamal hits 20, I mean, I thought it would come sooner than like the 6th or 7th game of the season. Can't really knock him for it though, because he is coming from an injury that held him out for a year and a half of playing competitive basketball. So understandable that it took a little while for him to reach his typical numbers pre-injury. The most frustrating fact, though, is that we lost to the Lakers. I don't think it's the fact that the Lakers got their first game against us. You never want to lose the Los Angeles Lakers when they're the Denver Nuggets. And tell me how nice were those unis, though? I like those Nuggets unis. They a little gold mining, They were pretty nice, man. But they got to wear them on a night that they actually win. You make the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers didn't really have that great of a performance, to be honest with you. It was just, honestly, it was about damn time they won a game. I'm going to be truthful with you. It was about damn time. And it had to be against us. All right, so be it. But come on, you have a team with LeBron James, Anthony Window Glass Davis. You got to at least – they should have won a game maybe a week ago, and they're barely winning it now. Like, man, kudos for you. Give them a clap. Give them a round of applause because they were popping bottles in the locker room. So you might as well just give them a hand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, my thing was, y'all are really going to go that far because you won for the first time in 6 tries. I mean, that, again, is mind-boggling. I don't understand how a team with LeBron, AD, and Russ, and Pat that are always out here talking about the soft generation and they can't play when we first came in and this and that and the other, and y'all are celebrating some regular season wins. How dare you? We only celebrate championships. And then they out here popping bottles on their first win of the season. They're 1-5 popping bottles. Like, that is insane to me.
Outside of those names you said, like, who do the Lakers really have on their team? Like, go on a list of names, and you're just like, who? Troy Brown Jr. Like, who is that? Austin Reeves.
And that's their starter.
Little Zac Efron High School Musical basketball player, Austin Reeves. Doesn't he look like he belongs in like a corny high school basketball movie? Like, he doesn't even look like a ball player. Like, man, where did they get these guys? LA Fitness, Gym? Who are any of them?
There's one name you will recognize, but not because they play anything, but Scottie Pippen Jr. is on this squad.
That's crazy.
I
forgot about that.
He gets no minutes, right? And he gets no minutes whatsoever. But
another name.
One of the most recognizable names is a guy that does not play at all. Like, that tells you how dearth this whole roster is.
Another recognizable name, Matt Ryan, and not the Indianapolis Colts backup quarterback Matt Ryan. For some reason he plays with the LA Lakers, Matt Ryan, because the Lakers, they always need that one really good Caucasian player, but he's not really good at all. They just have him there, and they have 2 of them in Austin Reeves. But it's funny because this team, they are such a terrible 3-point shooting team. I think they're actually last in the league. And they went and got Patrick Beverly, like a guy who doesn't even really address the issue of shooting the 3 ball. Like, come on now. Like, this was a terrible Lakers, and this is why the Lakers suck, because they have no one who can actually shoot the 3 ball. Yeah, LeBron's an all-around player, but shooting the 3 has never been his game, even though he can do it. Same with Anthony Davis. He can shoot the 3 here and there, but that's not his go-to. You need someone who can actually shoot the rock from distance, someone who can come off the screens, off the dribble, and they don't have one guy who can do that. They had Contavious Caldwell-Pope. He was able to knock down the 3 from time to time. They had Avery Bradley. He can knock down the 3. They had Kent Bazemore. And these guys weren't real big household names, but they can knock down the 3. And they got rid of all these guys within a matter of, winning a championship.
Right. No, 100%. Yeah. The Nuggets or the Lakers are shooting, even after this win, even after the win they finally got, they are shooting 26% from 3.
That's embarrassing.
That is terrible. Like, it's so bad that, like, I don't know how many of y'all have ever went to Yahoo Sports to look at stats or whatever, but when they, like, compare teams, they do, like, field goal percentage, Nuggets 9, Lakers 29th, and then there's a little bar that shows you, like, how far they are. Like, the more it's filled, the higher they're ranked in the league. The Lakers, they don't have a bar. on the 3-pointer. Like there's no bar.
They
It's just a
suck.
blank. Yeah, like you suck. You don't even get a bar. Like we're not even gonna measure it. It sucks so bad.
Oh
It's
man.
just terrible. But the Nuggets did go out there. They allowed. Let me pull this up here. I know there was two. LeBron and AD both went for over 20. Yeah, LeBron had 26. AD had 23. Then you had Lonnie Walker the fourth, who had 18, and Russell Westbrook, who had 18. And then along with Austin Reeves, who threw in double digits at 10. That tells me that they did not play defense. That tells me that they did not press them on the perimeter.
You know,
And they allowed this really, really poor shooting team to just dominate them in the paint.
here's a hot take for you. I think the Lakers' biggest problem is LeBron James. Having LeBron on their
Wow.
team. I really do. You know, he's the generation's probably this generation's best player. And that's the only reason why the Lakers are holding on to him. And a guy who was going to turn 38 in December. I mean, he's pretty much the team's GM. You know, God bless Jeannie Buss. I do believe we need more females in the front office. But Jeannie Buss is not a basketball mind. She can't run the show. She gave the keys to LeBron. These are all executive decisions by LeBron James. Bringing in Carmelo Anthony, trading for Pat Bev, all these terrible moves that were made these recent years because of LeBron James. And I heard a quote from LeBron that we're going to evaluate our team and get real serious after 20 games. That's idiotic. Like, you're going to wait 20 games for, like, what if you go 7 and 13
Isn't that
or
a quarter of the season?
yeah, if you go 5 and 15, what if it's too late already? That you're going to have to blow it up. Like, LeBron is, people hate to say it, and it's, understandably so, but he is probably the biggest cancer to this team. He's not a GM. He's a great basketball player, and the Lakers need actual leadership in their front office, not Jeannie Buss, not Rob Pelinka, someone who knows what they're doing. And another cancer is Russell Westbrook, but I don't think Russ is as big of a problem as LeBron James because LeBron has the keys to this organization. Russell Westbrook, who Magic Johnson said on a podcast about a week or two ago, is Russ's biggest problem is accepting the fact that he has played terrible. There's been times where Magic Johnson would play bad and he would admit that he's playing bad. Russ, he'll argue with the media. He'll be like, well, they don't know what they're talking about. He'll pull Baker Mayfield and, you're not out there playing, And the Lakers just have so much dysfunction and so much negative attitude within that locker room.
Yeah, I mean, real quick here from Nika, I want to be clear. We don't hate LeBron. We have all the utmost respect. I love the way that LeBron has played this game and changed this game since he was brought in. So we do also have love for LeBron, but we're going to keep it real. As you've seen, I'm not so sure I want to jump on that with Santiago. I think it has a lot more to do with Russ and Pat being a cancer of their own, but you have a unique take. I'm completely with you on it. You explained it well. And I mean, I think you might be onto something there. We'll have to watch that storyline as it progresses and see if you are right. Let's see if, things get worse when they are able to unload Russell Westbrook and see if things get real bad.
I hope I'm not right though, because I would like to see another year before LeBron retires, actually him go for another championship. I'm not hating on him, but I'm just, at least from my perspective, I think that is a big problem. They gave him too much of whatever he wants with this team. Like, it's his chessboard and he's, doing whatever he wants. They gave him the keys to the car. And this is what happens when you give a player, front office rule. I mean, they're not going to openly admit to that, but let's be real. LeBron is making a lot of these decisions, or he's in the front office's ear.
Yeah, it's just like in Brooklyn with KD. Like, KD and LeBron, I believe, have ruined it from any other player ever having that much say in a roster ever again. But we're running short on time here, so let's go ahead and move over to, can the Nuggets rebound versus the Thunder, and what is Denver's best starting five to exploit OKC's second worst turnover ratio per game? Should they stick with the starting five of Jokic, KCP, MPJ, Jamal, and AG, or should there be a shakeup?
what we say earlier in the show that we'd like to see Christian Braun get some more minutes. And OKC all around, they're a young team. So I think this would be a good team, a good opportunity to see Christian Braun in that shooting guard position. Now, that's just me spitballing here. I would like to see it happen. It probably won't because it is early on in the season. I still think Malone would like to see him in a smaller role. But if you were to start him, I would start him now. This is against a young team, a young OKC Thunder team that doesn't really have much experience besides of SGA and Joshua Giddey. They Chet Holmgren, he's out for the year, which is crazy because he broke his foot in the summer. Which, I mean, if you're a first or lottery pick, I feel like you should rest before you get that first NBA action. But people have a different perspective on that.
Right.
But I think it would be a good challenge and an appropriate challenge for Christian Braun. You're not putting him in the fire out there against the Warriors team or a Laker team who, they're pretty bad, but they do have an exceptional amount of pros who've been in the league for a long time. I think it's a good challenge for Christian Braun and an appropriate one, as I said.
I got you. I like your head. I like giving Christian Braun maybe some more time. To me, I think Brown still needs a little bit more time coming off the bench. To me, I would like to see Bruce Brown, a different Brown, get into that starting lineup. The 2 games where he has been with the starters, he has went for at least 18 points. He's shooting over 45% from 3 as opposed to KCP barely getting it over 30%. And in half the minutes, Bruce Brown is scoring less than half a point less per game. So, and the fact that the way he plays defense, unlike KCP at times, there's times that I'm just screaming at the TV like, bro, post him up. Bro, go for the ball. Like, what are you doing? It just seems like a rag doll just flailing his arms around on defense. Brown, both of them, Christian and Bruce, they play legit defense. So really, either one of them I'd be happy with. But I think, again, Christian needs a little bit more time on the bench. Let him sit with Bones and them coming off the bench, maybe mix him in with the starters here and there. But I would really like to see Bruce Brown running with the starters. I think he could take that next step and be what we thought KCP would be, and at a much lower rate. Yes, I know they gave KCP the big contract and all those things that lean towards making him the starter. But Malone needs to be the coach he's always been and not give a damn about the paycheck and put the best 5 on the court. And to me, that needs to be Bruce Brown instead of KCP.
Yeah, I hear you. I think KCP is having a little bit of they have a Russell Wilson issue to where as Bronco fans, you give Russell Wilson all this money, so you have this high expectation. Well, when they don't perform well, your disappointment is on a different level. If you don't have much expectation, then when they don't play well, you're not as disappointed. But KCP just got paid. If you're going to get paid like that, you should be performing at a pretty good, level, and he hasn't so far. But it only has been seven games, right? 7 or 8 games. So
7 games, yeah.
We'll give it time. It's a long season. I do have faith that KCP will get it together. I still like it better than having Will Barton on this roster just because KCP knows his role is a guy who's just going to be a glue guy. He's not going to be a star out there jacking up a bunch of shots that are unill-advised and bad shot selection. If he shoots a bad shot, then, he'll understand that. He doesn't have too big of an ego, so I can respect that, and I guess I can appreciate it a little more than having Will Barton on this squad. No, all due respect to Will Barton.
Yes, I agree. And here, real quick, LeBron's a great player, but yes, we're on the same page then, Nika. That is exactly what we are saying. He's a great player, but does not need to be in the front office. And I like where your head's at, so let's go ahead and do our own predictions. Santiago, how do you think this is going to end up?
This one's going the same route as that Jazz victory again. The second, Jazz Part 2 at least. This will be the second game OKC is playing. It's in Denver, isn't it, right?
Yes, I believe so.
In Denver, I still think it might be a little bit of a high-scoring game. Nuggets might give up a little bit more points than I'd like them to, but I'm going to go 120 to 105.
Okay, correction. It is in Oklahoma. It is in Oklahoma City. So, so there is that. I don't know if that changes your prediction. I don't think it should. I don't think it should matter where these teams play. SGA, Giddy, they're gonna score their points. They're gonna do some special things that are gonna make your jaw drop from here and there. But there's just not enough depth on this OKC Thunder team, and that is what is going to do them in. The Christian Browns, the Bones Highlands, the Uncle Jeffs, the DeAndre Jordans of the Nuggets are going to take over this game off of the bench. I have a real feeling they got, after that embarrassment against the Lakers, they got some anger. And it seems like this team, one thing I absolutely love about them is they never roll over. It does not matter how bad the last game was. The next game, you're going to see a new fight. You're going to see dogs come out. They don't just roll over. So I think OKC is in for an ugly one. This Nuggets squad is going to be on a mission. They've had 4 days to stew on that loss to the Lakers, and they're going to come out firing. It's going to be nasty. I see this ending up like the Portland game, but in reverse, with the Nuggets winning 135-110.
All right. You're doing exactly reverse, huh?
Yep,
But
exactly reverse.
before you go to match your point, you're completely correct with this team. They always turn it around. They never have like a back-to-back fluster, of bad games. How much of that is a testament to how great of a coach Malone is? Because a badly coached
100%.
team is someone who they don't care. They're going to have as many bad games as in a row as possible until they actually get together. This team, they have a good coach, and it seems like they're not afraid, but they don't want to disappoint Coach Malone. They have a lot of respect for him. It just shows a testament of how respected he is in that locker room.
Yeah, it's not 100% buy-in in the Nuggets locker room. It is 1,000% buy-in by this squad from 1 to 15. There is not a single guy that plays for himself on this team, and that is 1,000% testament to how good of a coach Coach Malone is. Because these are a lot of big personalities. These are a bunch of alpha dudes. These are guys that if they were on any other team, there's a couple of them that might be insufferable. They would be guys that we would be like, we don't want to deal with him at all. But because they're on this squad and they grew up in this system, they're a completely different person. So I am 100% with you. Coach Malone, at this point, deserved multiple coaches of the year. This is what he needs to have on his shelf. And he's having another season where it looks like he belongs at least in the conversation, if not a favorite. So I'm 100% with you on that. And I think it's a great place for us to leave. All the love for Malone and the Nuggets. Again, they play tomorrow at 7. Me and Santiago will be back here on Saturday at 5, as long as StreamYard does not blow like it did last weekend. I apologize to y'all, but that's why we are here now, to make up for not being here last weekend. But we'll do everything we can to be here. Saturday should be somewhere around 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Callie and I should have a Sasquatch Says sometime between here and Saturday. I don't have a definitive date, so I can't give that to y'all, but we'll get you some Avalanche. You always got Breaking Broncos with me and Dylan, so make sure you come and check us out. Ever-growing library of podcast, website, all that great stuff. So for the Nug Life podcast, I'm Dan Wetstein. That's my co-host, Santiago Salazar. And for the Answers 42, don't question the blue.